This video is going to be a little different, I suppose, to the usual ones on United People's TV. You know me, you know the type of videos I like to do, sort of more structure, key discussion points, and not too much opinion. But I feel I really want to say a few things about what I'm seeing from Manchester United so far in this summer transfer window, because this was supposed to be the summer that we saw the rebuild start properly at United. But the club is failing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer miserably. And Manchester United look further away from a rebuild now than we did at the start of the summer. And 1 week away from pre-season, we're nearly empty-handed. Dan James aside, we are empty-handed in the transfer window. And there's a few things I want to say about what I've seen so far from United this summer. I want to start by talking about Aaron Wan-Bissaka and what's gone on there, because that negotiation situation with United has really exposed how little power United have in the transfer market anymore. The name United used to be enough to bring the players in, but not anymore. We're the sort of whipping boys of the transfer market now. We're one of the richest clubs. Clubs know that our negotiations are poor, and they know that we're desperate to sign players. So any club wants to get United on the phone. They want United to come after their players. And Crystal Palace, they're putting our pants down. And that's a consequence of our own poor negotiations the whole way through. We went in with an offer of 35 million plus add-ons at the start. Palace wanted 50. Now, some will obviously say you have to negotiate. I agree on that. There has to be some sort of negotiations. But United's tactics in negotiations are woeful. Absolutely abysmal. Derisory offers that go nowhere near the valuation of what Palace want. Of course they're not going to accept. And now they're mugging us off. And I don't blame them. I'd do the same thing if I was in Crystal Palace's situation. They hold the power, and United have been so poor in the negotiations that they're making us pay for it now, literally. And we're just going to end up giving Palace exactly what they want after weeks of negotiations anyway. So what does that leave United with? A fantastic new player in Wan-Bissaka, but 3 weeks lost on unnecessary negotiations where sometimes you just had to pay, get the player signed and move on to the next target, because apparently we can't deal with more than one player at a time in the transfer window. That's why nothing's happened with Bruno Fernandes. Go figure that one out. But it's no surprise at all. When you've got monkeys who are in control of your negotiations, you're going to have problems. And for 6 years, we've had monkeys in control, and they are still in control. And it's verging on, for me now, it's verging on gross negligence. That's how bad United are in the transfer market. And by saying that, I mean that the powers that be at United are happy to let Matt Judge, who's head of corporate development, and Ed Woodward, who's our chief executive officer, to control everything in the transfer market they failed so miserably in. They're sitting there watching it burn and are happy to let that continue to happen. And the utter lack of accountability for anybody, it's truly staggering, I think, at this stage. It's not just a new thing. Everybody can look in and see what the problems are and see where the solutions may be. And maybe that solution was that director of football to come into the club. Instead, we've been sat with months and months of nothing but stories in the papers and no real movement on a director of football, on any sort of structural changes at United that we all felt were essential this summer for Solskjaer to succeed in the future. And instead of the solutions being addressed, they've been pushed to the side by the people that are the problem in the first place. I mean, look at the, as I said, look at the 2 people who are controlling our negotiations for Wan-Bissaka at the moment and controlling all our negotiations this summer. Matt Judge, head of corporate development, and Ed Woodward, an ex-accountant, are the 2 men involved. And it's just banging on the same drum that we've said time and time again. You've said time and time again. But these problems are not a surprise, and there have been potential solutions there, but the club just seems to be ignoring them. This rebuild that we were told about, where is it? All I'm seeing is United make the same mistakes again and again and again, and dragging ourselves further away from that rebuild. And Woodward is at the core of that, and we all know that, and the Glazers are at the heart of it as well. But I just can't believe that it still goes on. Continues and continues. The same fucking problems. Wan-Bissaka should have been easy to sign. Really should have been. 50 million was what Palace wanted. Should have gone in with 40. They disagreed, gone in with 45, in the middle, done and dusted. Instead, United were derisory. Trying to put the situation in real life, for example. There's a house that's worth £300,000. Are you going to waste your time and the time of the sellers by going in with an offer of 150 grand in the off chance that they drunkenly accept the offer? You're not. You're wasting their time, you're wasting your own time, and you make yourself look fucking stupid, and you lose power in negotiations because of it. That's what United seem to be doing the whole way through. Dan James, Swansea valued him at 20 million. We go in with 10 million. They turn it down. What do we end up paying? 15, rising to 18 million. United, we seem to have no concept of what the art of negotiations are. Now, when you're talking with brands, maybe that's the way you do it. But brands and football clubs and signing players, they're two different things, completely and utterly different things. And I think that skill set doesn't exist at United. That's the reason why we're in the situation we're in, and why Matt Judge and Ed Woodward are so wrong for that position. Sure, this summer may end up with United signing Wan-Bissaka, signing Bruno Fernandes, signing all the key players in key positions. But it won't be because we've had a massively successful summer. It will be because we've had our pants pulled down in every single negotiation, and the club that we're buying from will always be the real winners. And that's a consequence of United's lack of real power in a transfer window anymore. And it's no surprise to see it happening. And I don't think I'm jumping the gun when I say this. And I don't think it will be a completely successful summer, even if we do sign those players, because of what our lack of power in the window looks like. It's part of the rebuild. Because if you're a player looking in, why would you join United? We're the laughing stock. We are a laughing stock. You know, even if we do sign the players for, I don't know how much money. But I just feel there's more damage being done this summer that could have been avoided with key structural changes. And it just doesn't seem like the club really wants to fucking make them. And that's the real feeling I get now. And it's the real feeling why I'm getting massively frustrated with what's going on. It's not just the fact that we're slowing signing players. Sure, we're slow, but other clubs are slow as well. It's not just United. It's just what I feel the damage is that's being done right now to United by continuing these same problems. And it's not just with players coming into the club, because Paul Pogba, Romelu Lukaku, they're showing that the culture of player power has taken over at United, because they're publicly angling for moves away from the club and forcing United's hand. And again, for players looking in that are going to join or thinking about joining, they're looking at that and going, who's in control at United? Is it Solskjaer or is it the players? It doesn't look good, no matter where you look. And one thing I can't get my head around, really cannot get my head around, is this idea that maybe United can only deal with Wan-Bissaka at once. Can't be dealing with Bruno Fernandes or Harry Maguire or anybody else. One at a time, guys. That's the way that United are acting. How is that the case? It's acting like a conference side, not one of the most valuable sports brands in football. United are a massive powerhouse in terms of how much money we have, but in terms of the real power we've got in the transfer window, it looks minimal. Just take a look at Real Madrid. They've already made 5 key signings, huge signings. Hazard being the main attraction there now. And that's all happened very quickly. And it's exactly what can happen when a club has a plan in place, when a club has a structure in place to allow that plan to be executed, when a club has the right people in place to execute that plan in the structure. And it all ties in and it all works. And it's not as if they've had a manager who's been in for a long time. Zinedine Zidane came halfway through the season and now he's got the squad that he wants, quickly, decisively. Now, I don't think it's unfair for any United fan to expect our club should be able to act like that. Because if we are really one of the most valuable sports brands in the world, we should be able to act like that. But we can't, because the structure and the people are wrong. And now we find ourselves in the same situation again. And I feel we're further away from that promised rebuild than we were at the start of the summer because of it. And I don't really care if United do succeed in getting the right players in this summer. I would consider this summer a failure in a large number of ways. And that's because of it was supposed to be part of this rebuild. And the outward-looking image of United is a major part of that rebuild. Because without that, you don't have the lure for players coming in. And without that, teams won't fear you in the Premier League. We've lost that fear factor massively. And we've lost that fear factor in the transfer window as well. We used to be the place to go. But United are failing Solskjaer massively. This rebuild was needed to give him the circumstances to succeed. And instead, we're further away from that rebuild. We look even more like a joke of a club. And even if the right players come in, as I said, there's more damage being done this summer that could simply have been avoided with a proper rebuild. But it doesn't feel to me like the club actually wants to do that. Now, sorry if that all sounded a bit ranty or whatever you want to call it, but that's just how I feel. I'm frustrated. It's not just the fact that I'm frustrated at United taking ages to sign a player. It's not anything as spoilt as that. It's the extra damage that's being done this summer, in a summer where we were sold the idea of a rebuild. It's just collapsing even more. And I don't think United then signing the players covers up those problems. Covers up the idea that we're not structurally changing. It means that anybody who comes in, that on the surface it looks improved. Absolutely, Solskjaer will have a much better team. He'll be happier. But the underlying problems are still all there. And they will all come back to the surface again. And Solskjaer will get sacked. And in a couple of years, we'll be in this same situation again. And I thought this was the summer where that was finally going to change. But everything we've seen so far, it doesn't really feel like United want that change at all. I want to know what you're thinking about this. As I said, it's not just my opinion here, but that's how I feel. Am I the only one? Am I going overboard? Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. And if you are new to United People's TV and you enjoyed the video, I suppose, drop a like on it, subscribe. Until next time, though, take it easy.